this show is really about the resilience of artists in the face of the pandemic. And the piece that I have in this show today is Alchemical 37, Sojourner Truth. And it's an imaginal portrait. It's not a portrait of the actual Sojourner Truth. And it's coming out of a series in which I am using the language of Cubism, the language of pop art, and feminist historicism to celebrate women from history. And for me, Sojourner Truth is personally significant. I might get emotional talking about her. Hers was the first feminist text that I came across. And it came at a very crucial time in my life when I was far from family. I was in a very bad situation. And her words from this text that I read is, "Ain't I a woman?" It's a really well-known speech, a short speech. I'm sure it was shorter than what I'm saying right now because she knew how to address an audience and address them well. But it talked about her strength, her resilience, and her ability to surmount the minimal expectations others had of her. And so she has been a guiding light. And during the pandemic, I was, like everybody else, I was cloistered at home. And I was fortunate, I was able to work from home. And my art practice very naturally progressed in my home. We moved everything around. I set up a studio, I teach. So my studio became my classroom because I was filming and demonstrating and conducting my Zooms from my studio. And I had a lot of time in that space to reflect on everything that was happening. And so Sojourner Truth went from being a feminist icon and a personal light of survival that I used in my own life to being kind of emblematic of a lot of the things that I was seeing happening. We had Black Lives Matter really change the way the broader community looked at issues of inequity. We had Say Her Name, which I think really impacted what Black Lives Matter and how they represented women of color and Black women and their suffering especially. And so this is why I chose this image. And it's watercolor. And the image itself is from a cutout from a magazine of a bride of color. And I place her in a mirrored box and work from those distorted, fragmented images. And I was thinking about Sojourner, and I was thinking about all of the, people of color were impacted more than others because so many of them are first responders. So many of them are working in service industries that are essential industries. And so I also not only worked with the mirrors, but I worked with patterns from masks as faces are masked. So that's what this piece is about. And that's my contribution to this show. Definitely painting has been a lifesaver for me personally. And during this time, being able to contribute through my art and through my teaching, coming out of the studio, really kept the sense of isolation at a manageable space.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. Again, my name is Kevin Regan. And first, I'd just like to take a moment to thank the Center on Contemporary Art and the curator, Negarra Kudumu. And it's very exciting to be in a show with such talented artists. And I thought first I'd give a little bit of background about myself, and then I would talk about my painting, which is called 2020 Awakening. My training is actually in environmental science and law, and I'm a practicing intellectual property attorney. And so these are fields that require a lot of rational, linear thought. And my artistic practice is the exact opposite. I draw heavily from intuition and my feelings. And so it's the tension between these two worlds that informs my work. And so this piece, again, it's called 2020 Awakening. And I started the piece on New Year's Day of 2020, when I had no idea what kind of year it was going to be. And I actually finished the piece on New Year's Eve of 2020. So for me, the painting kind of captures the arc of a very difficult year. In my work, I tend to use a lot of bold colors, and to me, that reflects the world of my feelings and my unconscious mind. And when I start painting, I don't have an idea in mind. I just start painting and forms emerge. And here, there was these abstract forms that were sort of ominous, and eventually a self-portrait emerged. And again, there's a lot of analysis that goes into my law and my science work, but with my painting, the analysis kind of comes after when I'm trying to understand what it is I've actually created. And one of my favorite things to do is when I have works showing in a gallery to sort of hide in the back and listen to what people have to say. And I saw this one individual, he said this reminded him of a death mask. And for me, it does reflect, I live alone, and there was a lot of emotional and physical isolation during 2020. And there was a lot of grief that came from the way of life before and my interactions and relationships. And I do see symbols of death as often being an indication of transformation. And to me, this sort of reflects a mask dissolving, slipping away, new layers emerging beneath. And for me, 2020 was a time of great awakening and also a time of spiritual growth that was motivated by a lot of feelings of anxiety and emotional distress. And to me, some of the green colors are sort of a sickly kind of feel of uncertainty. And even now in 2021, entering into 2022, there's a lot of uncertainty. And I guess for me, the painting was sort of a transformational process about coming to grips with loss and feelings of uncertainty and new beginnings. And so again, I'm just very excited to be a part of this show, and I'm looking forward to the group discussion.